We are on the fourth line from the top on the Ayin Hey Amud Aleph. He also Ravdimi. When Ravdimi came, Amar he said, Amar Rabbi Yochanan. So Rabbi Yochanan told Ravdimi came from Eretz Yisrael, and he reported in Babel what Rabbi Yochanan, who was the Posek in Eretz Yisrael, taught him. And this is what Rabbi Yochanan taught him. The Shoshel V'Yosan Ro. When the Leviosan is hungry, Moitzi Hevel Mipiv, Umartiach Es Kol Ha'olam, Umartiach Kol Ha'olam Shebemetula. Kol Meimosh Shebemetula. He lets out, he opens up his mouth to groan, I guess, and there's such heat coming out of his mouth that it literally cooks up the water in the depths. Like it says in the pasuk, Yartiach Kisir Metula. He will cook up like a pot the depths. And if it wasn't for the fact that the fish stuck his head into Gan Eden to filter and freshen the breath that comes out of his mouth, nobody would be able to withstand the bad breath of the Leviosan. Yosy had very, very bad morning breath when he breathed to or when he groaned looking for food. So I guess he does this in Gan Eden. I didn't know Gan Eden is down in the waters, and that sort of filters and sweetens his breath. The ocean becomes like a merkachat is actually a pharmacy. It's where things are concocted. Rekeach means a cook. So it the yam becomes like a merkachat, meaning it mixes up the smell and smooths it out. Kagoy looking in the Rashbam Rekeach merkachas b'toich shehichnes roishay legan Eden. Okay, zog the Gemara weiter. And when it is very thirsty, this Leviosan, it moves in the water towards its food, I guess. So he ends up making furrows in the yam, as the Rashbam says, he almost, when he's swimming, I guess he grinds into the ocean floor and creates like a plowed trough. Shnema, like it says in the pasuk, Acharav Yair Nisiv. Acharav Zokter Rishon. Kishasasa, when he drinks, Yair Nisiv Hayam. It'll create a Nisiv, a path in the Yam, it'll light up the Nisiv Hayam. Amar Rav Acha Bar Yaakov, Ein Tahaim Chojeli Sinai. No longer takes for the Tahaim to go back into its right place. Ad Shivim Shana. It takes 70 years. Rashbam says, Meiroif Hamayim Shechasru. I guess there's water missing when the Yosy drinks. I'm not sure where the water goes to, but it's going to take 70 years for it to replenish its water. Shnemar Yachtiv Tahaim L'Seva. The Tahaim will recalculate like a Seva, like the age of an elderly person. Bein Seva Pchusa Mission. We know Seva always refers to somebody that's 70 years old. Omar Rabba Omar Beichim. Eventually, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to make a suda for the tzaddikim, and what is he going to serve there? And he's going to serve the boss of the Leviosan. Shenamar Yichru Olav Chaverim. Its Chaverim will be Yichru. So, what do these words mean? Vein Kara, the lashon of Yichra always refers to a suda, Ela Suda. Shenamar Yichru Lahem Kara Gedoyla. And when the pasuk says Chaverim, it means Talmidei Chachamim. Shenemar Hayosheves Beganim Chaverim. They're sitting in gardens. Chaverim Makshivin L'Kailech. They listen to your voice. Hashmieni, we want to hear it. And that pasuk, Dr. Rashbam. No, there is no Rashbam over here. Vashar Mechalka Noisoi, and the leftovers they give out, and I guess they're sold off in the Shuk of Yerushalayim. Shenemar Yichatzu Bein Knainim. They'll be split up amongst the Knainim. Rabbi Yosy, you're looking at me so strange, like you finally came on time. I finally came on time. I've been late almost every day last week. Today I finally came on time. The only reason why I came on time is because I was planning to be here at 5:30. So because of that, I got here at 5 to 6. Okay? Then Knainim Ella Tagora. And when it says Kanani, it doesn't always necessarily mean someone from the nation of Canaan. Sometimes the word Kanani is referring to a merchant that would sell it in the shuk. Shenemar Kanan biyodei moizne mirma. Canaan, what does he have in his hand? Scales of crookedness. Lashoik av, because he loves to steal. It's a really good vote of confidence to every merchant. The or maybe we know that Kanani means a merchant from here. Asher Seicharea, Sorim, and Kinanea are nichbidei aretz. Its merchants are the choshev people of the land. I guess it's not a steer; they're crooks, and they're also the choshev people of the land. This Suda is likely the same Suda that's discussed in Mesechus Psachim. And in Mesechus Psachim it discusses also Suda that Kadosh Baruch Hu will make for the Tzadikim. And the Gemara discusses, so who is going to bench Birchas HaMazon? So the Gemara relates there that first they're going to offer it to Avraham Avinu. You bench. And Avraham will say, how could I bench? I had a son Yishmael. So then they're going to go to Yitzchak and say, so you bench. And Yitzchak said, how could I bench? I had a son Esau. And then they're going to go to Yaakov and say, you should bench. And Yaakov says, I should bench. I was married to 2 sisters. So then they're going to go to Moshe Rabbeinu. And Moshe Rabbeinu is going to say, I should bench. I wasn't even Zoicha to come in to Eretz Yisrael. And then after Moshe Rabbeinu, then they go to Yeshua ben Nun and say, okay, you came in there to Yisrael. Yeshua says, yeah, but I never had a son. And then they finally go to David HaMelech. And David HaMelech benches by the Suda. Eventually, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to make a sukkah for tzaddikim from the hide of the Yosy. Let me grab a siddur, because after sukkahs, usually Shmini Atzeres in the afternoon, we go into the sukkah and we gesegen sich. We say goodbye to the sukkah. So let me just see what it says in the nusach of what we'd say when we gesegen sich from the sukkah. Let's see if I can find it. Okay, here we are. Yitziyah min ha-sukkah. Yirata milfanecha. Hashem Elokeinu v'Elokei b'sinu k'shem shekiyamti yishavti b'sukkah zoi kech ezkel l'shana haba leishev b'sukkas Eretz Yosy. So there are poskim who hold that you're not supposed to say this. You're supposed to say kein ezkel leishev b'sukkas Eretz Yosy. Not l'shana haba, because l'shana haba is mashma. The next year sukkahs we're going to get the sukkah of the Eretz Yosy. The problem is the Eretz Yosy is not kosher ischach. It's not going to do the karka. So they say. So there are those who say things brought down in the tour that you're not supposed to say Kenes L'Shon Haba, because L'Shon Haba B'Shalom always means like next year in this time we're going to be there. So we don't want to use a sukkah of Eretz Yosy when Mashiach comes, because that wouldn't be a proper sukkah. The Yomar, so Shenemar Hatimolei. Let me just look at the Bach, who changes the Girsa. Hatimolei b'suchos oiroi. Hatimolei b'suchos oiroi. They'll be full of with the sukkahs. They'll be filling up the sukkah that's made out of the ore of the Levios. Zocha. If someone is zocha, he has mitzvah samais tovim on the highest madrega, and we're going to soon see that the 4 levels that we're going to discuss are totally in the kavana when someone who does mitzvahs. So if it's someone who does mitzvahs completely Hashem Shemayim, then Oisin Loi Sukkah, and he learns Hashem Shemayim, then Oisin Loi Sukkah. He gets a full Sukkah. Loi Zacha, which the Mefarshim explained means he didn't learn Hashem Shemayim, he learned Amanas L'Kabel Schar, but that's also a pretty good thing. Oisin Loi Tzalzel. A Tzalzel is like a gazebo where there's a roof, but there's no walls. Shenemar V'Tzalzel Dogim Roshai. Zacha, if he's on that madrega, it's letzalto. Lo zacha. What if he's not even on that madrega? Rather, he did mitzvahs to make himself. He learned to make himself look prestigious. if he learns and he davens, so people will have respect for him. So then they make him a necklace. They make him a necklace out of the Oyer Shel B'Yazon, Shenemar V'Anokim L'Gager Esecha for your necks. Zocha, if you at least have that Madrega Oishel Hanak, Lo Zocha, if you don't even have that Madrega, meaning you only learn Torah to use it to fight with people, you use Torah to use it to do bad things, then Oishel L'Kameya. They just make him a little amulet, not as a scrambled egg amulet, but like a little thing, a little charm. They make him an amulet. Shenemar, it'll be tied for your children. Bashar, and the rest, all of the leftover skin, what does Hashem do it with it? He hangs it on the walls of Yerushalayim. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu hangs the skin of dead fish. I'm just trying to put it into perspective. He hangs the skin of dead fish on the walls of Yerushalayim. The zivay mavik misoifa levatsoifa, and the shine and the glow. So this was glow in the dark skin. The shine and the glow of the skin shined and lit up the world. The goyim will go to your light, and kings to the light of your shine. I mean, these probably all are figuratively, but again, these are Tifa Gemaras that we don't have to understand. The Samti Katkoid Shimshei Shaykh. I'm going to make a jewel in your shemesh. What does that mean? Amar Shmuel ben Achmeni, Peligi Trey Malachi Birakia. Gavriel and Michael had a disagreement as to what this pasuk refers to. But Amri La Trey Amaroi Marava. There are those who said that it was two Amaroi and Marava who argued. Uman Yinun Yehuda v'Chizkiya v'nei Rabchia. Now Yehuda and Chizkiya were both the sons of Rabchia, and they were both twins, but one was born a couple of months before the other. So the question is it physically possible to have identical twins born at different times? And the answer is yes. It happens in very rare occasions, but it happens. Where it would happen for instance, if one of the fetuses are in danger and they have to take it out, they sometimes will leave the other one in to go full term. I think so. What? Oh, so maybe it's not. Maybe it's fraternal. Could be it's fraternal. See, I don't know my signs, but what happened was Rabbi Rosner, when he was learning this Gemara, he said, "I did research on this to see if it's possible," and I asked my wife. She's a doctor, and she said it's possible. And then I Googled it, and they also it's very rare, but there are instances of that. Chad Omar Shoyam v'Chad Yoshvei. So what type of gem was we talking about? It was either Shoyam and Yoshvei, which both are on the bottom row of the Choshen. One is the Shevet of Yosef, and one is the Shevet of Binyamin. Amalu HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and the reason why Yosef and Binyamin is, I think, is because Yosef is going to be the family of Mashiach ben Yosef, who's going to start the rebuilding of the Beis HaMikdash. And where will the Beis HaMikdash be built? In the Shevet of Binyamin. Amalu HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Lahavet Kadein Chadein. You know what? They're both right. Let them be both right. Maybe there are two jewels. There'll be two jewels. And your doors will be made out of stone. The Rishbam says, so it was some type of special stone. Let's see what he says in the Daled to give us a meaning of what this Daled is. Even Yikaradum, it's some type of precious red stone. I don't know if that's a ruby. So your doors were made out of this type of precious redstone. Rabbi Yochanan was darshni. Also, the Kadosh Baruch Hu lahavi avadim toivos umargolios. Hakadosh Baruch Hu will eventually bring gems and fine stones. Shem shloishim al shloishim that are 30 amma by 30 amma. The chayik bahen, and he would draw a design in them. Eser al eshem, 10 amas by 20 amas. Umamidon b'shara Yerushalayim, and he would put them as the gates of Yerushalayim. So when Rabbi Yochanan dashed him this ligleg olav oisay talmud, so one of his talmidim was laughing. Nonsense! I don't believe such a thing. Seeing is believing. Hashta kebayazon the tzitzla b'shkechinon. We could look around for this precious type of stone, and you won't even find enough to be the size of a small little egg of a small little bird. You expect to find such massive boulders made out of this precious gem that is so rare. Anyway, this Talmud once had to travel somewhere by ship. He saw the Yasri, the Kaminsari, Avadim Taivus Margolias. He saw that they were malachim that were middle of quarrying and shaping these big, beautiful stones. Shem Lamed Alamed. And it's actually cracked out a design in them. Esther Brumesrib, exactly what his Rebbe told him. Amalu, so he asked him malachim. Hani Lamad, it's so funny, like it was like commonplace. Yeah, I was on a ship, I saw malachim. So I asked him, what are you doing? We don't have such conversations now. Amalu, Hani Lamad, who are these for? Amulei, to Azar HaKadosh Baruch Hu La'amida Mishar Yerushalayim. We're getting prepared because HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to put them for the Shar Yerushalayim. Also, like Hamed Rabbi Yochanan. So I came back to Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan, you know you're right. Amalei Draish Rabbi, you're right. Guess what? You're right. L'chana Lidrash, you deserve to darshan because you do know what you're talking about. Kasher Marta, exactly. You darshan Ken Reisi. That's what I saw. Amalei Rabbi Yochanan told him, Reika, you empty-headed apikoris. Ilmalei loy reisa or l'malei reisa loy hamanta. Had you not seen it, you wouldn't have believed it because I'm telling you. You know what you are? Melagleg al divrei chachamim. You're someone who does not take seriously. You deride the words of the chachamim. Nasan Einavoy, he gave him as a dirty look. V'nasa gal shalatzamis, and he became a pile of stones. So most of the time we learn that means he just died and flunked down. But there are those who are showing him who hold Rabbi Yochanan wouldn't kill someone for that. But he said you're worthless. You're like a gal shalatzamis because you don't have respect for the Torah of the Messiah. It says, we just learned this a couple of weeks ago, so let's look at the whole pasuk inside, since we just learned it recently. Oh, it's right. Where is it? It's in Vayikra, so we didn't just read it. I will carry you to high places. So what is this pasuk referring to? Meir Omer, Mosai Mama, the Beis Hamikdash will be 200 amas high. Kishtei Koimish Alad Marisha. Rabbi Omer, Me Amma, Keneged Koisel Uksalov. Oh, so either I'll take you to a place that's 200 amas high, or I'll take you to a place that's 100 high. Keneged Hekel. Shenamar Shabin Yanoi, Kenetiyim Migudalim, Binureyan, Binaisenu Kazavios Mechutavos Havnesecha. So the problem is, you Rabbi Yochanan said earlier that the stones are 30 by 30. Those are not even going to halfway cover the doors because the Beis Hamikdash is going to be 100 amas high. Zakta Gemara, Ki Kam Rabbi Yochanan L'Chavid Vesika. He didn't really mean the gates, the doors. He meant for windows to allow fresh air to enter the Beis Hamikdash. Okay. After Hashem shrunk Adam, he only was 100 amas high. So by Sheni, the Hechel of the Sheni, show your room, Mei Amma was 200 amas high. Normally you would need doors, gates that are as tall as the walls. He said it was only 20 high. Oh, I mean, the stone started 30, but so I was wrong about a design. It was actually chiseled down. They started with a stone that was 30 by 30, and they chiseled it down to 10 by 20. They're just for the windows that allow fresh air. It's just referring to the windows, but not actually to the doors. Every tzaddik is going to get 7 chuppahs. Shenemar ubara Hashem al kol mechoin on every base. Hartzion bal mikrael anon yoimam v'ashan v'noiga eish lahava laila ki al kol kavod chuppah. That's what the pasuk says, and there's a whole bunch of extra words in here. I think there's 7 extra words. Lamed shekol echad ve'echad oisaloi HaKadosh Baruch Hu chuppah lefi kavod. There's the arch will list off which of these 7 words we're learning them from.
Anon.
Okay, so Anon, okay, Oshan, Noiga, Eish, Lahava, that's 5. Kavod. Okay, so those are the 7 words. So Anon, Yom, Anon, Oshan, Noiga, Eish, Lahava, Kavod, and Chuppah. Okay. So Zok to Gemara, Ashan b'chuppah. Why do you need smoke in the chuppah? Shouldn't there be no smoking in the chuppah? There's smoking in the chuppah. Look at that. There's some people will be very happy. Oh, I'm going to go to the smoking chuppah. Zok to Gemara, anybody who does not forgive a Talmud Chacham, and the Rashbam says somebody who doesn't be mahana a Talmud Chacham with his nechasim, v'olam hazeh, Mismalois Einov Oshon Lailmaba. His eyes will be full of Oshon by the. Does that mean he'll have blurry vision, or it means his eyes will be itchy? What did the Ashra say? What Oshon means? Full of smoke, or maybe both. Okay, the Eish b'chuppah lama. Why do you need a fire in the chuppah? As a matter of fact, when the fathers and the mothers come with the candles, they blow them out as soon as they get to the chuppah. Why do you have a fire under the chuppah? Everybody's going to get burnt because they're going to see that their friend's chuppah is greater than theirs because their friend was greater than them in Torah and Yerushalayim. So everyone is going to be burnt. I mean, I'm sure one guy is going to have the best one, but everybody else is going to be very humiliated that I don't, especially in life, people think, oh, I'm better than him, and then you get up there and you have a chuppah and he has 7 big beautiful chuppahs. Everybody look at the guy with the small chuppah. What did you do when we weren't looking? Right? So that's why we should be bejoined. And this already is in the Gan Eden for the tzaddikim. Even amongst the tzaddikim and Gan Eden, you think, okay, even there's going to be a very high level of envy. It's too late. You find similarly in the Sata, it feels like also love is not going to be so much fun. Hashem will put from his hide on you, not all of the hide, only some of the hide. Even there's a kenim shaboisa ador. It says by Moshe Rabbeinu, HaKadosh Baruch Hu told Moshe Rabbeinu to put some of his hide on Yeshua, but not all of the hide. So the kenim shaboisa ador amru pnei Moshe kipnei Chama, but pnei Yeshua kipnei Levana. So you see, there's already a downgrade. Oy la la oisa busha, oy la la oisa klima. As the Rashbam says, shebizman huat, in that small period of time in the transition from Moshe to Yeshua, nismayit hakobet kolkach. Sure, Yeshua Yanavi umelach k'Moshe. Yeshua really had the same function, the same position as Moshe. But he didn't get the same height, and it's very noticeable. So too, Lasad Lavoi, you want to have a big tent. You don't want to have a small tent. That's our intent. Amr Abchama, Bachadina. Esther Chuppah is Osakadosh Baruch Hu Adam Rishon. Adam Rishon had 10 chuppahs. Began Eden in Gan Eden. Shenemar be'Eden Gan Elakim HaYisa. Kol Even Yikara. So let's look at the pasuk inside because it lists off 10 different things. Be'Eden Gan Elakim HaYisa. Kol Even Yikara. Misukasecha. Oidem. Pitida. Which were in the Choshen. V'Yahaloim. Tarshish. Soyam. Yoshvei, Sapir, Neufech, Ubirkas, Vizov, Melechas Tupecha, Unikavecha, Becha, V'yoim Hibarecha, Kainonu. So a list of all the different parts of the chuppah. Then there's a Zov there, and then it says the Melechas Tupecha, Unikavecha, which the Gemara is going to discuss, means the intestines, and the fact that we take in and then we excrete. In you, in the day that I corrected. In the day that I created you, that's what I established. So we'll see in a minute what that is referring to. Zok the Heilige Gemara. So there's 10 chuppahs. Marzutra Amar Achas Asrei. There was actually 11 chuppahs. Shember Kol Even Yikara, which adds an extra word. Amar B'Yechan Ugurush B'Chulon. The least expensive, the least impressive of all of these chuppahs will be made out of zov. So you can imagine how choshev everything is. If zov is the simplest one, how do we know zov is the simplest one? Because it's listed off at the end. What does the pasuk mean by that? I'm maybe the Marav. Chir Melech Tzur was a bad guy. He told Chir Melech Tzur, and Chir was a bad guy because he wanted to make believe like he was some type of god. He was full of himself. He thought he was great. It's a kalten via God. And Hashem said, because I looked at you, who you thought were so choshev, you caused me to do something in your creation so that you should know that you're very human. Let's see the Rashba. It was more than that. You made yourself into a god. A person is blown up. He's like an empty sack with holes. This is what I set up when I created you, because I knew later on there'll be a man who's going to want to make himself like a god. The day that I decided to create you, that I established had the covenant ba'adam. Why? Because any person that's like that, you're not even a getchke. Even a getchke doesn't have to have bodily functions. You have bodily functions, you're far from a god. Another pshat. I looked at you and I saw what a Rasha you are. Because of that, the kanasti misal adam arisha. And because of that, I made misa. Now we have to understand what this means, because we know that it was nigzar and adam arisha misa because he ate from the tzadas. Okay, but these are a little bit out of our league to understand how Hashem created the world and why. The kanasti mida b'ainu tupecha. Tupecha is like a toif. It's like a blown up instrument. Hakever shu chol k'moy toif. Referring to the kever. It's like we created death for you. Chiram, because we don't know Novi. Chiram was one of the bad kings. I don't know. I don't know Novi either. He was one of the bad kings. Like he brought so much. Caused a lot of trouble. Yeah. I've never heard of him. Chiram. The north from the Malach Yisrael. He wasn't he was a guy. Wasn't he out? Did he supply for Shlomo Melech? Did he supply the material? Could be. I don't know my Novi. You know, to build the base of it. Okay. I've never seen the al mikra. What does it mean? The al mikra. So it says in the pasuk, Ubara Hashem. Yeah, I'll focus the camera. Ubara Hashem. I'll call Machoin Hatzion. The al mikra on its mikra on Yoimam v'Ashem. This is the same pasuk we had. So what is the mikra? Like Yerushalayim, Shalom Hazeh, Yerushalayim, Shalom Haba. The Yerushalayim of Olam Hazeh does not measure up to the Yerushalayim of Olam Haba, the future Yerushalayim. And this Amud is going to discuss what Yerushalayim will look like. The Yerushalayim Shalzov, what it's going to look like when we eventually have Mashiach. Yerushalayim Shalom Haba, so Yerushalayim Shalom Hazeh, Kol HaRoitz Halalois Oila. Anybody who can afford a $5,000 ticket with LL can go to Yerushalayim. However, Shalom Haba in Oilen Ela Hamazunin Law. It's by invitation only. So La'asad Lavoi, you can't just come to Yerushalayim. You can only come to Yerushalayim by invitation only. I'm not sure who will be in charge of the invitations, but it'll be probably the Rebbeinu Shalom deciding who's royal to come into the holy city of Yerushalayim. Eventually, tzaddikim are going to be they're people who are dovek to Rebbeinu Shalom, and they try to follow all the mitzvahs of Rebbeinu Shalom. They're going to be referred to with the name of the Rebbeinu Shalom. Anyone who's called in my name, I created him for my covet. But you see that they will be referred to by the Rebbeinu Shalom's name. There are three groups of people that were called with the name of the Kadosh Baruch Hu, Tzadikim, Umashiach, V'Yerushalayim. Tzadikim Hada Amoran. We said, Kol Nikra B'Shmi, L'Chvaydi B'Rasav Yitzhak B'Avasisa. Mashiach L'Chsev, V'Zeh Shemoy, Asher Yikru, Hashem Tzidkenu. And Yerushalayim L'Chsev, Soviv Shmoyna Aser Elef, V'shem ha'ir miyoim Hashem Shema. Al tikri miyoim Hashem Shama. Al tikri Shama Elo Shema. So we dash in the pasuk that Yerushalayim will be referred to her by the name Hashem. Amar Belazar, Asidin Tzadikim, so Ayim Lefneim Kadosh. Eventually, people are going to say Kadosh in front of Tzadikim, Kederech Sha'ayim Lefnei Kadosh Baruch Hu, just like we say Kedusha with the Rebbeinu Shalom. Eventually, we're going to say Kedusha for the Talmidei Chacham, for the Tzadikim. Shenemar v'haya nishar b'tzion v'anoisha b'Yerushalayim Kadosh Yomer Lo. They're going to call him Kadosh. So these are all things that we don't. It means what the guy's going to walk down the street, everyone's say Kadosh. And I'm sure there's a lot of deep meaning in here that we don't necessarily fully appreciate. Gimel parsois l'mayla. So Kadosh Baruch is going to raise Yerushalayim to be 3 parsois higher than it is now. Right now, how many feet above sea level is Yerushalayim? They're going to make it even higher. Shenemar v'rama etait v'yoshva tachtaha. It's going to be raised and it's going to be seated underneath. My tachtaha, ki tachtaha. It will be raised as if there's another Yerushalayim underneath it. How do you know that the Yerushalayim underneath, the first grade, the first story Yerushalayim, how do we know that that's 300 parsa? This elderly gentleman told me, which I think usually refers to Eliyahu, but I saw the original Yerushalayim. In fact, it was 3 parsoyas high. I'm not sure how that works exactly, because 3 parsoyas is a long. There were no buildings that were that tall in those days, so I'm not sure what it means that Yerushalayim was this high. But these are all heichazaken, literally and figuratively. They're all heichazaken, tall things, but I don't know what they mean. The Shema Taimar Yesh Char Lalish. You're going to tell me, you know how many steps you're going to have to go up to get to Yerushalayim if it's 300 parsa high? I'm learning, no problem. We're going to have elevators. Mi'ela ka'av tufenu will float up like a cloud, uchayoinim and like doves el aruba sayim to the windows. It'll be easy for us to float up to Yerushalayim by invitation only. Amar Papa Shmamina ha'ibat lasa parsimidli. Since it mentions that we're going to be like a cloud, we learn from there that the clouds are 3 parsoyas in the sky. That's how high they are. Amar Rab Chanina bar Papa because HaKadosh Baruch Hu losais es Yerushalayim b'mida. Originally, HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted to give Yerushalayim in a very measured way, meaning it won't be unlimited. It will be very restricted. Shenemar v'omer, he told the Malach, where are you going? The Malach told me, Lamud es Yerushalayim, to measure out Yerushalayim because it has a very specific area. Lirosh kama rachba, how wide it is, the kama arka. So Amr Malachi Asharish Lofnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The Malachim told the Rebbeinu Shalom, Harbi Karachim Barata by Lamecha, Shaluma Sa'olam. You built many cities of Goyim. Even Lakewood doesn't have borders. It keeps on growing and growing and growing. So Yerushalayim, Teshimcha b'soicha, u'mikdashcha b'soicha, v'tzadikim b'soicha. Yerushalayim, who has your Beis HaMikdash and your tzadikim and your own name. Atanoizim b'midah, you're going to limit it. Yad v'yomer elav right staber elanar. Go tell this nar elanar los lemar parazois teis v'Yerushalayim. No walls, no boundaries. Yerushalayim will spread and grow as much as it has to. From all of the people and animals that will be in Yerushalayim, Yerushalayim eventually will be huge. It will spread and encompass a much bigger area than it currently does. So Yerushalayim will be like Lakewood. Mamish like Lakewood. Well, at the beginning, as they expand, it might be cheap. So it might be a good deal to buy in Gaza now because it's going to be worth a lot of money soon. There's actually a very big discussion as to what the borders of Eretz Yisrael were. We learned yesterday that it's surrounded by these rivers and by these yamim, so we don't know exactly where they are. But the question is how the northern border, the eastern and the western border are pretty clear what they are. It's the southern border that's a little bit fuzzy. And there's a big machlekes of poskim, like if you're in Eilat for Yom Tov, do you keep 2 days Yom Tov or not? Is Eilat chutzlar? There are poskim who hold that Eilat is a suffix. I think there are poskim in Yerushalayim. No, there are poskim who hold you shouldn't go there for Yom Tov because it's a suffix if it's Eretz Yisrael or if it's chutzlaretz. and you might have to keep 2 days Yom Tov over there.
When was it?
So most poskim hold it's somewhere in the middle of the Negev. It runs east-west. Yeah, but a lot of it's at the bottom of the Negev. So there's actually a shaila about exactly where the southern border is. It's Nageya to Trumas HaMaisros. On Paris that grew there, it's Nageya to the Yom Tov. So most of them say don't go too far south.
Some hold it part of
Yes. So there's a big shaila as to what exact southern border. There was or there wasn't.
I thought no one held that it's part of it.
No, there are people who hold it is. It's a suffix.
I didn't know.
Okay. So let's see what else we had in Yerushalayim. So Omar Ish Lakish Azar Kadosh Baruch Hu L'Hoisev Al Yerushalayim. You know much he's going to add to Yerushalayim. Elef Tefaf Ginois. 1,000 times the gematria of Tefaf of gardens. Tefaf is gematria 169 because Pei is 80 and Pei is 80. So 2 times 80 is 160 and Tes is 9. So it's 169,000 gardens. A city with 169 gardens, with 169,000 gardens, is going to be a pretty big city, right? When I think of a garden, I think of like these parquets that we have. A city that has 169,000 parquets is a very big city. The Mashal explained that I didn't look them up because it's a little bit hard to understand. Why couldn't the Rizal just tell us 169,000? Why did he have to go 1,000 times to Tefaf? And Elef couple Migdalim, 1,000 times the gematria of couple of towers. So couple is 180 plus 30 is 210. So 210,000 towers. Elef litzui, 1,000 times the gematria of litzui, which is 146 bernois. So 146,000 bernois are palaces. And Elef Ushnei, now it's not 1,000, it's 1,002, which is a real unusual number. 1,002 Shiloi times the word Shiloi, which is 345. So 345 times 1,002. Tut Perois, which are smaller palaces. V'cholachas v'achas hava kitzipure b'shalvosa. And each one of these palaces are going to be like Tzipure when it was in its glory. Tut Perois, actually, the historian Dr. Henry Abramson talks about Tut Perois. It was a very common architectural type of place that there's a small area that just was surrounded by 4 pillars, not even a roof, and there was like 4 arched doorways. It was typically put in the center of a town or at a crossroads. It was some type of thing that was that they used to use in those days. Tanya Amar Yosy, Ani Raisi Tzipori b'Shalvasa. I saw Tzipori when it was in its glory, when it was calm, and it wasn't destroyed. 180,000 shvakim only of Moichrei Tzike Kedeir. People who sold like porridge, things to cook. There was 180,000 shvakim just for that. You could imagine how many other shvakim it had, what a massive, massive city it was, and that's how big Yerushalayim is going to be. Batzalois Tzela al Tzela, referring to the size of the Beis HaMikdash, I believe. Shalosh u'shloshim pamim. Normally, if you want to say 33 times, you say 33. Shloshim v'shalosh. So this pasuk describes the height in an unusual fashion. Shalosh u'shloshim pamim. So what does that mean? My shalosh u'shloshim pamim. Amar Belevi Amar Papi. Yeshua Yeshua the Sachni. Yeshua of Sachni. Im Gimel Yerushalayim. If Yerushalayim is going to be 3 times the size of the original Yerushalayim, Im Gimel Yerushalayim, then called Achas va'achas Yesh ba Shloshim Midurin Lamayla. Then each one will have 30 of these palaces. Im Shloshim Yerushalayim, if Yerushalayim will be 30 times what it is, then called Achas va'achas Yesh ba Shloshim Midurin Lamayla. Then everybody will have 3 stories. So if Yerushalayim is 3 times the size, then the buildings are going to be 30 stories high. But if Yerushalayim is 30 times its size, then the buildings will only be 3 stories. So I guess, regardless, there's going to be a lot of room. The question is it going to be high density occupancy or is it going to be low density occupancy? Are they going to allow high-rise buildings of 30 stories or only low-rise buildings of 3 stories? Idmar, Now we're getting back to the Sukkah of Basra. If you remember, a long time ago, about 21 stories ago, there was it could be that's why that's the Hemshech. We're talking about how many stories there will be in Yerushalayim. So it ends the whole Sukkah about 21 stories. We're talking about stories. So Itmar, I wonder if they knew English in those days. I wonder if they wrote Aramaic, they knew English. Itmar, Svina. So we were talking about Hamoichash Svina. If you sell a Svina, what is included in the sale of a boat? Now we're going to discuss how are you kind of a boat? How do you make a kinyan on a boat? Because the question is, we already learned that the Mishnah looks at a boat as it's metaltal, but are you kind of like a kind of metaltal, or are you kind of like a kind of car? So Rav Amar Kibin Shemashach Kolshu, if you pull the ship, and even if it moves a centimeter, kana, you'll be kind of the ship. If the ship is 20 feet long, you have to pull it 20 feet, so it's now occupying a completely new space that it was before you started pulling it. Maybe this is totally in the machlokes tonight. When you're cutting an animal by handing over the reins, how does the kinyan work? If you grabbed it by its hoof, besire by its hair, by its saddle, by its load, the metal in its mouth, its bell, kana. If it's handed over to you by the original owner, how does Mashiach work? You call the animal, and it comes towards you. You hit it with the stick, and it ran away from you. How much does the animal have to move to be able to be kind of an animal? Once it moved 1 foot and 1 arm, you're kind of. That's called moving it enough. The animal has to walk its full length. If the animal is 8 feet long, the animal has to walk 8 feet. So the Gemaras want to say maybe this is exactly the machlokes between Rav and Shmuel. Did you only have to? The animal takes 1 step, which is equivalent to moving the ship a little bit. Shmuel that you have to move the ship 1 full ship length. Amarav Zokrav, no, it's not. We're not telling that machlokes. The machlokes by animals is completely different in our discussion by Shvina. Because another Amri, I would even agree a fiddler rabach. So even though I hold that by a ship you only have to move it a little bit, I would agree by an animal it has to move a full length. Adkan loikam rabacha el bebalechayim. By balechayim, the afagav the okriyad v'regel b'duchtakayim. By moving 1 hand and 1 foot, it still has its other foot as a pivot. It can move right back. Avosvina kivin the nada bapurta nada lakula. Moving it an inch, you moved everything an inch. So therefore, you would agree to me. Rabach would agree to me. That holds that you only have to move one step. I can look at Tanakama el Babalechayim. By Balechayim, they keep him with the Akra Yad V'Regel. Since it moved 1 foot, it's just a matter of moments till the next foot gets moved to continue the movement. Idach l'mei Ekakayim. Alvasvina imash chalakula in iloi loi. The Sweden is only going to move as much as you pull it, therefore you have to pull. So therefore, they're not telling machlokes tanoim. Zakkamar, maybe you have Shmuel are still totally in a different machlokes tanoim. Let me count it tonight. The Tanya, Sefina niknis b'Mashicha. You can't have Sefina with Mashicha. Amnas Neimer, the Oisios niknis b'Mashicha. So this is an unusual brisa because it's trying to quote a machlokes, but the Tanakam is speaking about a Sefina. And not talking about Oisios. So what's going on over here? Svina v'oises niktus b'mashicha uvishtar. Frank the Gemara oisios man dechar shemay. Man dechar shemay. Who said anything about oisios? That Rab Nosson felt a need to introduce them into this shaila. There's some editing required for this price. Svina niktus b'mashicha. Svina is niktus b'mashicha. But oisios b'masira, and oisios is b'masira like a star. You're going to give it over to somebody else. Zogt the Rashbam, v'oishes b'masira of a mashicha einoi elo b'dover shegufay mam. Oishes is a star. I sell you a star. I'm not telling you a piece of paper. I'm selling you the shibud in the star. That you cannot be connected with mashicha. You can only be connected with mashicha if the item has intrinsic value. The mechimot you're kind of that physical thing that you have. If you make a mashicha you'll be kind of the paper. But if you want the shiva to transfer, That tzarich shim serenu malva liyadalekeh. The malva has to give over the shtar. Nosneimer svina ba'oisiyos niklas b'mashicha. Even the oisiyos, you could be koine with mashicha ubishtar. So frag the Gemara, shtar l'svina lamali. Why would I need a shtar for a svina? Shtar is used to be koine karka, but a svina mataltlihi. Elalav hakikatan. What you're going to have to, let's stop here because this is going to. I would go to the end of this sugya, but then I'm going to finish this whole moment. Then what am I going to do tomorrow? So we'll stop here and we'll pick up this discussion. So we're in the middle of a discussion where Rav says you only have to pull a ship a little bit. Shmuel says you got to pull it to full length, and we're going to try to make that machloikis the machloikis between the Tanakam and Rav Nosson. We will discuss that in detail tomorrow. Everybody should have an awesome Sunday. And whoever's going to the bike ride for Kayla, what's it called? For KCC, should be
KCC.
From beginning to end. From beginning to end. Okay, have a wonderful, wonderful day.